And thank you, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Welcome to everyone who's here this evening, those members of the public that are in the gallery. We have a special event tonight we'd like to have tonight at 5.1. We also want to welcome those that are participating from home and thank our staff for being here to provide us the best information and facts that we need to make the best decisions on behalf of the residents of South Huron, and welcome our members of council that are here as well. I'll ask everyone to please rise for O Canada. Again, welcome everyone to South Huron Council meeting, April 20th, 2026. And we will begin our meeting with the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. As a community, we have a responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived and continue to live upon it and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory that we are meeting. Thank you for that, and I'll please ask everyone to make sure their cell phones are off, with the exception, of course, for volunteer firefighters. Their cell phones and pagers can be left on, of course. Ms. Carlson, please.
The South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And a mover for that, please. Moved by Councillor Oakes, second by Councillor MacLeod-Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures this time? Cannot see any, and we don't have a presentation, but we do welcome our friend, former Mayor Rob Morley, if he'd like to come down and present us with a little delegation, if you wouldn't mind. And I thank you very much, Rob, for accepting my invitation to come to tonight's meeting. So please take your time, and we look forward to what you have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a strange place, you know, when you sit on this side of the fence. Yeah. So thank you for the invitation, first of all. And I'd like to say good evening to staff, council, everybody beyond the rail and in the, I guess, in audio announced to the internet, anybody that's watching from whatever. It's kind of a pleasure to come back after 25 years, but makes you feel old, I'll tell you that. How would you like me to proceed? I did put this, or it has been posted in your minutes. I'm sure you've all read it. I don't want it to be boring. I can read it again it's whatever you guys want me to do.
It's up to you, Rob, but we've read it, of course. The public has read it. If you want to just highlight some of the things there, I can tell you, I spoke to Minister Thompson yesterday and she sends her congratulations to you. She would like to have been here tonight, but she was unable to be here because of some duties in Toronto.
Yeah, but I'm sure she's a busy girl.
She's very busy, and she thinks a lot of you too, Rob. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So, but no, we just hit the highlights if you would, and the differences that's happened then as what you see today. Because I know you've had your hand in it for a number of years, and your leadership has helped position us to where we are today with the support of the council you've worked with.
Well, fine. First of all, congratulations on 25 years from not only today's council, but the councils of the past. Because as I say, you know, it's not accomplished without a whole lot of hard work and a lot of give and take. And and it all started back in the mid-90s. As we know, things were getting tough in the province, and municipalities, there was lots of us out there, and the province was on a mission to save some money. So of course, municipalities were on the list. So were colleges, as Centralia College found out. They were, that was probably the first big hit in our area, but there was lots more to be had. And so I guess the biggest thing was that, with the debt that the province had, they were trying to shrink it any way they could. Back in the 90s, we could, if we had lots of documentation, we could send it into the province. And if they agreed with us, we were getting upwards to 80% payment. If we bought a road grader, they'd send us a check for 80% of the cost, and we knew that couldn't last forever, but it was certainly fun while it lasted. And so what we did, they kept on to us about, you guys should be looking for some friends and partners. We can't afford to have all of you guys around. And we listened to them, but we really didn't care. We were okay. But all of a sudden in 1998, there was an announcement, and that's Chatham-Kent was the new municipality. I think it was 23 municipalities were merged together with an order through legislation in Toronto. And of course, believe me, they weren't very happy, and the rest of us got real scared real fast because all of a sudden everything they'd been telling us was starting to look for real. So I guess with what was going on, there was a real push for the municipalities to report to the province on more things. I mean, there was so many more things coming through, and land use, landfills, water, building codes, etc. Everything was getting tighter, higher accountability. It was becoming a big issue for rural municipalities to keep up to all that with the skeleton staff that we had. So, there was another reason that we really decided it was time to maybe look at us. But like I said, in 1996, that became the real thing. And in January 1st of 1998, we finally had put something together. The announcement for Chatham-Kent came in 97. So that really pushed us, I guess. So as of January 1998, it was the new municipality of Chatham-Kent. And that's all it took. So we started, and if you notice on the list of all the different meetings we had, all the different partners, Grand Bend was a big, I would just say, supporter of South Huron. We shared a lot of things. So they were the first ones that contacted us, and we contacted them and said, you know what, we know you're over the county boundary, but that doesn't matter. Here we are, we're merging, so we can go anywhere we want with whoever we want. And that led us all the way down to Thedford, to be honest with you, because Thedford was part of the Lambton Shores, ingredient. And so we had a lot of meetings with a lot of different people. It was one of those things. We went into Middlesex County, into Lucan, because as we all know, Osborne was part of Middlesex County at one time in its early history. Blanchard, Osborne had shared a lot of things with Blanchard Township, which now is Perth South. It just made sense. We traveled around. There was municipalities didn't want to partake in our discussions. They just wanted to stay the way they were. As it turned out, they didn't get to stay the way they were, and everybody in Huron County, and to be honest with you, after this whole Chatham-Kent thing went down, everybody in the county, we went from 27 municipalities at county council down to 9. So it was a major impact. While all this was going on, the Walkerton water tragedy happened, and that was a very precedent-setting thing for all municipalities. Doesn't matter where you were throughout Canada. I'm sure it was heard far beyond Canada. But that really woke a lot of us that were not totally convinced that things were going to change. That we knew there was going to be change then. And I'm sure if there was anything that the early council took a lot of criticism for, was how many staff do you need and why do you need so many? You told us you're going to merge together and you're not going to need staff. Well, the province didn't really ask for a lot of accounting before this all took place. And if there's anything Walkerton did, it made accountability really strong in the province. So at the time that of these discussions, I was the Reeve of Usborne, and I've lost my place there, but anyway, I was the Reeve of Usborne Township, and of course, Usborne Township was only 1,700 people. We didn't have any arenas. We didn't have any fire department. We didn't, we just worked away out there and did a great job at what we were doing, but we weren't really set up to be, part of a big organization. So I don't know why, but they chose me to chair the committee to join everything together. And I think it probably made sense because I had the least to lose and the most to gain. So I was very open to what other municipalities had. So we did that. At the end of the day, we chose, and like I said, we went all over, but at the end of the day, myself was elected the chairman. Larry Brown, who was at the time, he was the clerk of Stephen Township. He was also elected as a secretary, and he became the middleman for the communications with the province and the local people and everything beyond. Larry spent hours and hours and hours. He was probably far more important than all the people sitting around the table. He was the guy that did the work. So at the end of the day, we decided that we were going to join together with Exeter, Stephen, and Usborne, and we were going to call it South Huron. We decided that Exeter was the most centrally located in the community, so and most ratepayers were doing business in Exeter. So we decided that it was probably a perfect time that we would utilize the town of Exeter was remodeling the library next door, and they could adjust their plans to accommodate some staff because we knew that there wasn't enough room in the existing. So that was what went forward. Each municipality would maintain their own work sheds. There'd only be one road manager. He would look after all personnel with instructions to utilize men and equipment wherever possible. They were also told to streamline where they could. At the time, Exeter had sold the PUC, or the Exeter PUC had sold the hydro portion to Ontario Hydro. So that helped the committee. Really, all we had to do was kind of clean up at the end. Exeter had done all the negotiating. They'd done everything. We just had to make, as the new municipality, we had to make sure that their money went into the reserves and was spent in Exeter. That was the key to it all. So the financial assets of all three municipalities were used. We put them in reserves for each municipality to be used within. And don't think that didn't cause some, how would you say, discussions at council over time. But it was, we wanted any money that was brought in from Stephen or Exeter or Usborne, we wanted that money spent in those municipalities. We didn't want anybody to think that they got ripped off by going into this municipality. And it took time to skate around some things to make it happen that way too. And nothing come easy when you do it that way. We basically, to hire staff, that was probably one of our toughest. Everybody had qualified staff. Everybody was, quite happy previous, but we had to slim the thing down. So when we advertised internally for staff members, not everybody applied. There was a few building inspectors didn't apply, but it helped our numbers. But at the end of the day, we ended up, Larry Brown was chosen to be the new CEO. Sandra Strang was the new clerk. Laurie Dykstra was the deputy clerk. Ken Parker was the road manager. Jane McPherson was the treasurer. And at that time, we didn't hire a CBO, but we did hire one a few months later. The gentleman by the name of Wayne Dale was hired. So lots of decisions to be made, but we knew that staff was the most qualified group to make a lot of those decisions. If council didn't like it, council could change the report the staff had, but staff was here every day, and they knew what was working, what wasn't working. The computer programs, you had probably one municipality's employees knew the computer program and the other two didn't, just stuff like that all had to be worked through. So, so each municipality was split up, and it was probably made sense at that time, but we did the council was set up by ward. And we decided to do population as far as representation, and the mayor and the deputy mayor would be elected at large, which is the same as what you guys are doing today. It worked out really well at the end of the election. I gotta make sure I read this and don't mess it up, but where are we here? Well, at that point, the end of the first election we had was in November 2000. New council consisted as myself as the mayor, Dave Erlin as deputy mayor, Drew Robertson and Harvey Ratz as councilors for the Stephen Ward, Ken Oak for the Osborne Ward, and Pete Armstrong and Joe Hogan representing the Exeter Ward. So come January 1st, the new municipality of South Huron was founded, and the task began to make South Huron into South Huron. So the first setback, we get to the first meeting and we hear that the construction workers forgot to show up to go to work on the library next door. So about 3 weeks passed, because you really couldn't dig in too deep. But as it turns out, the company, the major contractor, he'd filed receivership. And of course, it was a bonded project. So we had to sit back and wait for the insurance companies to take their time. And it probably took 6 months to even get driving nails again, in all fairness. But the poor staff, again, here they were, there was enough for probably 10 offices and we only had about 4 to put them in. So they were sitting pretty much, elbows to elbows downstairs, next door. I think a few of them even worked out of this room right here, to be honest with you. But anyway, it probably was 2 years before we had a final place for everybody to sit down at their own office and their own desk. We had to design a new crest. The municipality of South Huron was all new, so we had a contest. And at the end of the day, a submission by Fern Dougal, who's a local resident and historian, with a few little tweaks from council and staff. We took a lot of recommendations. Believe me, council wasn't the major ingredient when when the municipality was put together. But anyway, we chose it, and the crest today is still the one that stands above you. So each of the bylaws from each municipality had to be merged together. And of course, there was no rush to get any of that done, but it had to be done. So over the course of time, and I'm going to say it was 2 to 3 years probably before we had them all under the umbrella of South Huron. And anything that happened previous to any applications or whatever, as long as they conform to the bylaw of the existing Osborne or the existing Stephen, that's how we did it. And I think it was fair. It worked itself out. Every individual bylaws all worked out. Exeter had always done their own planning, so we decided it was probably wise that we all sign up and work with the Huron County Planning Department. They had been doing most of it anyway, but Exeter had gone on their own direction, so we made that decision. Fire departments were all merged, the arenas, sports fields, community centers, anything that made sense. We merged it together, and believe me, there was lots of change after everything was merged, because it was you don't know until you try to make it work, what does work and what doesn't work. So anyway, I guess here we are 25 years later. Who would have thought? There's still lots of changes going on, and there's still lots of discussion. I don't think you guys stayed till after midnight to council meetings quite like we did in those days. But many an evening was after midnight. I'll tell you how bad it got. It got to the point where we even passed bylaw that you could not stay past midnight unless you had a unanimous vote from council. So that's how tough we got on ourselves. But I don't think we ever had a unanimous vote to stay past midnight, because everybody wanted to get the work done. It wasn't going to get done without. So anyway, I'm open for discussion. I'd like to take time to recognize, as George said, there's a lot of people sitting up in the stands here that had a lot more input, either themselves or their spouse had a lot more input than what council did, because they're the ones that put it together. Council come along and said, yes, no, maybe so. And those are the ones that I want to recognize. And I think, George, if you would help me with all this to make sure. I guess everybody that's attached from staff going by, please rise. It's, believe me, you're the ones that we're here to recognize more so than anybody because staff put it together.
Sounds like your
Really good
worship,
job.
Mayor Morley's asking you to rise, so please feel free to stand up and be recognized.
Come on, Jane. Your husband did more
Yeah,
for this municipality
Jamie,
than
yeah.
anybody I've ever
Yeah,
known.
Drew?
What? Yeah, it's great to see that there's still, interest, we'll say. That's it for me, George. I'm open to answer. I can talk all afternoon if you ask me a question, but
That's probably why we get along so well, because both are good talkers.
that's why it was after midnight.
So I got some questions for you, Rob.
Sure.
After amalgamation took place, did you ever think that because of that decision, South Huron and region would become the economic engine that it's become? And the fact that it's the fastest growing municipality in Huron County?
Well, that was always our goal to make it the best. I mean, probably not, like we were so busy the first 3 to 6 years, there were 3-year terms in those days. And it took the first 3 years just to get everything put together and even think you were ahead on the right road. I could tell you by going to county council that we were not experiencing the problems that some of the other municipalities in the county were. Whether that was good management, good luck, or whatever, I say it was good management. I go back to staff again. That, I'm happy that they are. I always figured because we're the closest municipality in Huron County to the city of London, we probably would always have that, connection. But it was anybody's guess where we were going to go.
Yeah, very true. And we all know staff do the heavy lifting day to day. Council members are governance. We think,
Oh,
and those members of certain councils across the province that think they're in charge, they're governance. They have to really realize their role. And you folks certainly set the standard back in those days. And that was before the Municipal Act actually came in. Is that when you were deciding what to do in 2001, the Municipal Act was formed? Is that correct?
yeah. They were, the province was, they give us 10 years warning that things were going to change, and it changed. All right. And then it's still changing. You guys are dealing with things now that if you'd asked me 25 years ago that council would be dealing with, I'd say you're crazy. But, you're dealing with stuff that's way beyond, and you have to, unfortunately, social media has made it a whole lot harder for you guys to deal with it too, because, social media was almost unheard of when we were on council. If people come up and looked you square in the eye and said, this isn't the way it should be, you paid attention. The problem is now everybody writes on the internet or sends you a text or does whatever. They never have to look you in the eye. So they'll say anything. Like I'll be honest, I was threatened. I was threatened at a public meeting one night, but in those days we didn't get too excited about it, but it happens. But you guys get shot at every day, just whether it's right or wrong. And most times when people are shooting, they only have half the information anyway. So
Yeah, that's true. Fortunately, I still have like bulletproof vests at home, so I can wear it all the time. But yeah, social media certainly had a lot of inherent misinformation that plays a significant role in today's governance compared to what you face. But what would you consider your biggest challenge in 2001 in regards to that? Like just communication wise?
Early in the amalgamation, the biggest challenge probably was to get this place running, and it wasn't my challenge, it was Larry Brown's, and I'll go back for Jane, but that guy was amazing. He could talk you into buying snow on a wintry day. Like he was good at his job. He didn't crap, like what he said was the gospel, but he was smooth and he understood people and he knew how, I think the challenge was for me to keep up to Larry with things going down. And as the mayor, I only showed up here probably one day a week, just drop in, see what was going on, because he had such good hands on it that I didn't, I was in business on my own. I didn't have time to be in here 8 hours a day. And it worked out. It really did. There was a lot of change. Excuse me. The province had airplanes flying around with infrared, and they were looking for, environmental issues. and they found some, the lakeshore was a mess, the way you used to fix things was if you had sewage problems, they just give you fresh water. The Lake Huron water, lines went up and down. So what did that do? It enticed cottage owners and other people in villages and towns. Now we got fresh water. We don't have to worry about contamination. Well, now they're washing their clothes at their cottage instead of doing it at home. And it multiplied the problems. And that certainly caused some grief. We had some issues within this municipality that ended up that if we hadn't have fixed them, the province was going to come in and do it. So we did it anyway. And stuff like that's tough because people are, there was a lot of people that spent a lot of money on their own homesteads, and to come in and tell them things were going to change, that wasn't an easy task.
No, I can imagine. But it seems that provincial money may have flowed a little easier in those days compared to now due to downloading, where we have to advocate for funding on pretty much everything, as it all has to be justified to the province, thus making it more competitive. But what are your thoughts on that? And what would your advice be to future councils with regards to advocacy for upper level funding opportunities?
We'll go after them for everything, absolutely everything. You never get anything unless you ask, and I think it keeps it cleaned up a little better, maybe, that you have to apply through the province, and we always did also, but the province didn't really show the interest. They were busy in Toronto. They didn't, and I think they still think about Toronto a whole lot more than they do up here. But you guys do a good job. I mean, this whole Main Street project, I mean, that was on our plate back in 2001. It took this long for the province to come up for money, but connecting links are quite a thing, and there's a lot of places that have connecting links through their towns. And actually, Exeter's probably one of the last one in Huron County to have it done. All other main streets are done within the county. So good luck with that one, because you're going to, that's hard work to get through that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And those pipes in the ground are 60 years old here, and the ones in Calgary burst were 50 years of age. So
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I mean, that one of the first things that we had flooding going on in Exeter, and like I said, those red spots that showed up in the infrared, there was mobile home parks that were showing all kinds of, environmental issues. The sewer line that you're going to replace this year, you got a lot of government money for that. We connected to that in 2003 because we actually got to service some areas that were outside Exeter. They were always in Osborne. We didn't share service in those days. So when we finally did, we put that sewer line across in behind Toyota coming around and hooked into an old line. And now it's to the age where it needs to be replaced so that it's big enough to handle the flow. And good for you guys for getting that money, because that's all part of growth. And you need to have that 20 years ahead of the growth.
Yeah, you always have to be visionary. No different than what your council did in 2001 to put us in the position we're in today. Yeah. Any questions from members of the council? Deputy, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a comment. Excuse me. Thanks, Rob. I remember sitting there.
Yeah.
And Drew. And it's quite a thing. Going back that far and remembering all that. But thank you very much.
It was a good history lesson for me, because I'll tell you, I had to contact Sandra Strang, and I called Lori and a few others. There was a few things that I just wasn't sure of. I thought I was on the right track, but a few of them I wasn't for sure. So I'm sure glad we had, and there again, staff's still behind us. We're still there. So yeah, it was a lot of fun too. Don't ever think it was all work. We had a lot of fun, but we spent a lot of hours. Like, I don't know, Jim, you weren't on the first council. I was amazed when I looked at that picture. I thought you were on the first, but well, you were one of the ones that talked me into running for mayor to start with. I don't know how the heck you got away with that, but
I was on the one before when all the problems were being solved. Were being solved. And all the heavy duty discussions. There was lots after, but there was lots before too. You talked about Grand Bend. That was a county issue also,
yes,
because the county didn't want them to come this way. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of issues always around. And yeah.
Yeah, if I had put a dollar aside and said who I thought would be amalgamated in the amalgamation, Grand Wen would have been in that. I really thought, and they did, they really, really wanted to be with us, but it wasn't meant to be. Same with to the north. I thought, Hay Township would want to come our way, but at the end of the day, I mean, you have landfills, you have cemeteries, all that in Hay, but but they're not here. But I don't think you're done amalgamating. I think you guys better get back at it and take her all the way to Highway 8 and call it one municipality.
Well, who knows what will happen if councils make good decisions, then there's no reason for them to touch us. If the councils make bad decisions and there's problems and the province looks at it and says, we're going to do this. And that's the challenge, right? In order to keep yourself small and mighty, you got to work hard to stay strong. So question, Councillor Need, go ahead.
Yeah, just more of a comment. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel old, but when amalgamation took place, I was in elementary school, and I can remember even then the amount of apprehension throughout the area about all of Stephen, Exeter, and Osborne joining together, and just the concern about local representation and money being spent in certain areas and not in others. And I think based on where we're at today, whenever we're making decisions on behalf of the entire municipality, not necessarily just based on wards. And I think that's based on how we've been set up and the culture that was created originally when the municipalities formed. So thank you very much for all those in attendance who contributed to that, because again, who knows where we would be if the province, formed their own idea of what should be our local area. So thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Rob, for coming out tonight. Just awesome. You accepted my invitation right away, which is great. You're a tremendous leader for the community, a real patriot, as are the members of the public that are in behind you there. And I'll just identify each one of them as we go through it. But just thanks to Drew Robertson and Barb for being a part of that history. Bonnie Sitter's sitting here as well. She's a member of the public, very strong volunteer. Of course, Lori Dykstra. You can't go anywhere in town without somebody knowing Lori, of course. And Jane, of course. Jane, thank you so much for your contributions with Larry. What a true leader, and Rob has identified that very clearly. As we move on, we go up to Keith and Sandy Strang, strong members of the community. Thank you, Sandy, for all the work you did as a member of staff. We have Jamie Parker here representing his dad, Ken, who was the road superintendent at the time. Another great person in the community. And Meg Erlin and her daughters Tracy and Jody are here, who represent their husband, Meg's husband, Dave Erlin, who's your deputy mayor at the time. A real great volunteer and a community leader as well. I don't know if there's anybody else up there. I missed anybody. I don't believe so, but
You
Dave.
missed one guy, and I'm glad to see he's still here, Scott Nixon. He was as faithful as anybody I know for coming to council meetings. Thank you, Scott. You were always supportive, and even if you thought we were nuts, you're always behind us.
Yes, I just want to thank all of you for making, that were part of this history, for taking your time out of your day to take us back 25 years and share with the public how we arrived to where we are today. Leadership can be very complicated, especially when communities are faced with these types of decisions. But it's clear that your council played a significant part in that history and lessons learned as to the importance of coordinating communities to think like a region. And it appears clear that the writing was on the wall, whereby in 1978, the South Huron Rec Center was built by the three former municipalities, Stephen, Exeter, and Osborne, who believed in working together no different than us today in advocating for regional healthcare and the importance of partnering with neighboring municipalities when it comes to healthcare. So at this time, I'd like to ask all the former members and their families, everyone is in the gallery, if we could just take a time here and have a photograph taken. Everyone in the gallery, stay where you are and just bunch in a bit, and we'll get Rob and myself will be in the front. And if Rob, you doing the honor of wearing the chain one last time, we'd have our photo taken. And members of council, if they go in behind the those that are in the gallery, that'd be terrific. Bonnie, you can stay up there too. Yeah. And unfortunately, we have to continue on with our meeting, folks. So could the current members of council please come back to their chairs and we'll get going here again. Thanks everyone for coming out again this evening. And for those members of the past council and their families, you're welcome to go into the Verity Room, take the treats with you, and have some time to reminisce. We'd really appreciate you taking the time for sure. Thank you so much again for attending. But take your time in the Verity Room. There's no rush for you to leave at all, unless you want to sit and watch council. I'd rather go in the Verity Room with you. Okay. Thanks, folks. Okay, we'll continue on with our meeting here. Ms. Masul Carlson.
That South Huron Council receives a delegation from Rob Morley regarding South Huron's 25th anniversary.
And a mover, Councillor Need moves, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries a 7. Thank you. No public meeting, no, in the minutes, please, Ms. Masul Carlson.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the regular council meeting of April 7th, 2026 as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. 8, please.
That the minutes and agendas of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, draft minutes of March 24th, 2026, and agenda package of April 14th, 2026. Sable Bayfield Conservation Authority, draft minutes of March 25th, 2026, and agenda package of April 16th, 2026. Committee of Adjustment, draft minutes of April 7th, 2026.
And a mover for that, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, moves, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries to 7. Thank you. Next item, please. 9.
That South Huron Council receives planner report dated April 7th, 2026, removal of holding symbol applications at 01/2026, Palin.
And a mover for that, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries to 7. Thank you. 9.1.2.
That South Huron Council receives planner report dated April 13th, 2026, South Huron zoning bylaw 5-year review, and that the proposed zoning bylaw amendments be approved and that no further public notice is required under section 3417 of the Planning Act.
And a mover for that, please. Councillor Dietrich moves, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a question, or just, I guess, further explanation on that CF property in Yonville. I read that you couldn't contact the, I guess, is there any other properties in the municipality that's privately owned that are community facility properties?
Through you. I'm not aware of any. I've certainly run into them in other municipalities. The most common one we'll run into are former churches, are very, very commonly zoned community facility. And then at some point when a property owner wants to move forward with a conversion, they'll apply for exactly what they want. I don't think it's a cause for major concern, but I do think now that it's been flagged, I've put it into a file for the next time we've got a housekeeping or another item like that moving forward, that it could be considered by council at that time. My concern if we were to do it at this point is we can't hit the statutory notice requirements without a full recirculation. So I think it would be more appropriate to deal with it if it's being circulated in advance of a public meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Vaughn.
Thank you. On the 70660 London Road, Exeter, I think I have this right from how you've described this, is that it was future development zoning and then it was removed and then staff have come back and said, no, we should keep it as future development. And then further go on to say that development of these lands will still require an official plan amendment, a zoning bylaw amendment, and an application will be needed to justify the need for an expansion of the settlement area, adding additional development lands. So thinking back to the official plan, we went through quite a bit of discussion with Denise about how much land we could actually have in future, or sorry, in the settlement boundaries. And it sounded pretty solid that where we landed in the official plan process was where we should be. And so I'm just trying to understand why we would declare land to be development and create an impression for the future that we intended this to be settlement. And because I think that creates a value to land that we haven't actually approved here at council. So I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind why we would want this to stay future development and then have all those pieces still to do at a future council.
Through the mayor, I'll do my best to answer. So I think I certainly agree with a lot of your thoughts. I think if you recall some of my comments when we were previously talking about expanding the future development lands west of the tracks for the other property noted in the report, those are some of my concerns that I had there. I think it's a little different here where it's currently zoned future development, and that property owner may not have been aware that removing it was being considered. So I think it's a cautious approach to say, let's leave the zoning as is, because we don't know for certain that the owner of 70660 London Road, Exeter, was aware that we were considering removing that future development portion off of the front of their property. The other thing that makes me a little less concerned here is that the future development zone, unlike the greenfield residential zone that we're using in the areas that are really being opened up by the trunk sewer improvements, the future development zone doesn't allow anyone to build anything as of right. It says that this is an area that there could be future development. If a developer is looking at purchasing those, it's very normal for them to reach out to the municipality and have a conversation about what they want to do with it and how they would like to develop it. And at that meeting, I think it will be very important for the municipality and for the planner of the day to say, you need an official plan amendment, you need a rezoning. And if there hasn't been more development to the north of those lands already, it's probably premature. To your point about the lands assessment that Selena and Denise went through during the time of the official plan update, that paints us a picture of where we are today. That could change fairly quickly if you had a bona fide developer come in and start developing some of your future development lands. As we've seen with any of the subdivisions that you've had over the last number of years, they can move very quickly if you have a motivated developer. And if you start eating up some of those designated future development lands, that is a good spot for a future expansion of the settlement area. And that's when a private planning consultant could make a fairly straightforward justification for an expansion. If they're saying, yes, you need 25 years of land supply, you've eaten up 10 years of land supply in the last 3 years because you have a developer moving very quickly. If that doesn't materialize, then I think future council should be cautious about expanding the settlement area and rezoning those lands for development and allowing leapfrog development that far south if you haven't filled into the north. So hopefully that speaks to kind of your concerns, helps you understand why I'm able to support leaving those future development zoning on that property. But also, you know, I recognize some of those are valid concerns for the future.
Councillor Vaughn.
Okay, just for clarification. So I think in that explanation, Victor, you said that these lands were actually designated zone-wise as future development before we even started the official plan process.
Yes, through the mayor, exactly. Before the official plan process even started, those lands were already zoned future development. When you did the land needs assessment and you updated all of your settlement area boundaries, one of the exercises I went through when I started the zoning update was to say, let's remove future development lands that are outside of your updated official plan settlement area boundaries. And so this piece at the south end of Exeter was mapped to be removed. But on further discussions with municipal staff, the idea was at the south end of Exeter, where there's a higher chance than in a lot of other areas of the municipality to expand, they'd prefer to see that future development zoning remain.
Okay, thank you, Victor.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Okay, not seeing it. We have a mover and seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report TSD 06-2026, King Street paving project update for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Oh, sorry. Okay. Go ahead, Jeff. And welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. There was just a couple items I wanted to touch on for clarity on this King Street project. First was the scope of the project. In the report, it doesn't talk about sidewalks, but there is sidewalk work associated with this project. The timing of the sidewalk work will depend on the outcome of the engineering review and the scope of the work that they suggest we should be looking at. If it's where new concrete sidewalks wouldn't be at risk of being damaged when we go to do whatever stormwater work they recommend, then we could potentially move forward this year with the sidewalk. But if it's at risk of being damaged during that future stormwater work, then we would sort of omit that and then carry that forward as well. And then the second item was related to the the communication to the local residents. We wanted to inform council first, but we will have a communication. We have a communications plan moving forward here. The contractors indicated that they're looking to start in this on Power Line May 11th. So we'll have some signage installed and we'll do some door-to-door handouts for the local residents on King Street there, just to give them some more information as well so they understand the plan.
Great. Any other questions, Councillor Oak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a question. I know with our asset management plan, we do an inspection of a lot of the assets as part of that to come up with a schedule of when things are, what condition things are in. So I guess I'm just wondering that these sewers were all of a sudden discovered that they were in poor condition and it wasn't discovered as part of our asset management plan. I just wondered the discussions there.
Through the mayor, I wasn't here at the time when we did the condition assessments, but the pipe itself is quite new. It's a PVC storm sewer pipe that we would typically install today. It's possible that when they did the camera work, that for whatever reason maybe there was a dry spout and the sewers were dry. But the main concern that I have is the way that they were installed in the grade, where they're half or 60% full of water.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Deputy.
Thank you. So we're not doing any work at all on King Street this year, or we're going to do the pipes?
Through the mayor, my intent was to do the engineering review at this point, and then like pretty quickly throughout the next couple months, and then hopefully I can come back to council with an update again, at least partway through the summer, and then it can either be built into budget discussions for 2027 for capital, or depending on the nature or the scope of the recommendations, perhaps we could even move forward with the storm sewer and sidewalk work this year. Obviously, it would require a budget type discussion and amendment to the capital plan. And
Thank you.
if it fell, if it fit into sort of the projected scope or budget for this year.
Very good. Thank you very much. Jeff, any other questions? Okay, not seeing. Thank you. Very, very well done. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries us 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council receives staff report TSD 07-2026, airport line speed reduction. And that South Huron Council approve a speed reduction on airport line to 60 kilometers an hour from County Road 83 to 600 meters south of County Road 83. And that the authorizing bylaw be brought back for the necessary 3 readings.
And a mover for that, please. Councillor Oak moves, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Deputy, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Once the speed limit is lowered, or if it's lowered, if we pass it, can we use that speed spy just to do the count on the road and the speed on the road to see where we're at? And I know it's nice to have the police there, but it's nice to also have something to show them what's happening. So I wondered if we could install that for, I don't know what time. I'll leave that up to the manager. Thank you.
Through the mayor, yes, we've started putting the traffic counter out, so we can schedule that into the regular schedule for that. Yes.
Great, thank you. Councillor Oak, you had something?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. All I want to say is thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, no, Councillor Need, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I know we've had this discussion before, and we'd been hoping for the county to pass budget for the roundabout at that corner. And so thank you to Deputy Mayor and Mayor for your advocacy at the county for that. Is there any chance that that roundabout could come back at a future budget for the county, or is that completely dead in the water?
It could come back for the next council, but that's a whole new council. So I'm hopeful that will happen. If it came back now, it'd have to come back under a notice of motion, basically. And we're kind of past the RFP time in order to get a contract to maybe do it. It could, but no one's indicated they want to do that. Deputy, comments? Nope, that's where we're at this point, so. Okay, if there's nothing further. We have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries us 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report ESD 11-2026, results of 2026 DWQMS internal audit for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council receives staff report FIN 05-2026, the 2026 council expenses as of March 31st, 2026 for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council receives staff report FIN 06-2026, the 2026 capital progress report, March 2026 for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, I just have a question about one of the projects on the capital list. This is a project from 2024, and it relates to the streetlights on Airport Road. We've been waiting to execute a subdivision agreement with the developer in Huron Green, which we did do just not too long ago at council. Now I note on the capital form that we are looking at here tonight that there's also a statement that we're now waiting for the confirmation of provision of funding for the developer's share of the street lighting. So I'm just wondering what that means.
So the council did approve the subdivision and we provided it to the applicant. And as part of, they'll return a signed copy along with the securities, and they haven't done that quite yet. So that is the plan. Once we receive all of that, then we'll get the clerk and the mayor to sign the subdivision agreement and everything, once we have everything, insurance, securities, and a signed agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Oak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just wondering, normally at the same time we get the capital, we get an operating report as well for the first quarter. Is that to come next council meeting or? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries a 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council receives staff report BL 02-2026, first quarter summary of bylaw infractions and requests for service for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? It carries a 7. Thank you. Next item.
The South Huron Council receives staff report CL 06-2026, private cemetery support framework update for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead, please.
Thanks to the mayor. When they say an active cemetery, does that mean that I can go in there and buy a plot or that their plots that are prepaid?
Welcome, Kendra.
Hello, thank you. Through the mayor, sorry to repeat that. You were asking about an active cemetery?
No, I didn't catch that.
You were asking about an active cemetery? Sorry, I didn't hear you. It's a little difficult.
Right.
Yes, if it's active, then yes, you can go in and purchase a plot and burials are still happening.
Okay, but you can't buy a lot now, or can you?
Yes, you can purchase a
can.
lot.
Okay. I just wonder if we were allowed to do that or it's like prepaid mine. So I just wondered if all the plots are maybe prepaid on this active cemetery, but it seems like, yeah, you've answered my question there anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McLeod Haggett.
Through you, Mayor Finch. Just wondering, Kendra, with the monies that were requested from these different ones, what type of funding were they requesting the monies for?
So most were requesting money for assistance with maintenance, landscaping, cutting grass, things like that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? Carries a 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council receives staff report CL 07-2026, Bereavement Authority of Ontario, BAO Annual Cemetery Reporting 2025, and Cemetery Master Plan Update for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 7. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report CAO 05-2026, the Q1 2026 Strategic Priorities Progress Tracker for information.
And a mover, please. Councillor Neeb moves, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. Madam Clerk, any notice of motion?
There are none.
Thank you. 11, any one wishes to bring those up from the past meeting? Okay, not seeing any. 11.2, Ms. Sue Carlson.
This is a follow-up from a question from the last meeting. That South Huron Council received CAO memo 02-2026, EB 2026-0009 OEB, generic proceeding to review the 2000 model franchise agreement. Follow-up.
And a mover for that, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you for the follow-up report. It explained it. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Not, we have a mover and a second. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Go on to 12, new business. Any new business tonight? Are we there now? Nope, not seeing any. Okay, Mayor and Councillor comments. Any comments, Councillor Oak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just like to congratulate the U15A girls team and the U16 boys on both winning provincial titles this season, and also congratulate all the other teams that made it to the provincials and won a number of other tournaments during the season, and representing South Huron proudly, and just makes me proud to be South Huron resident, seeing the kids active like this. So thank you for the coaches, the parents, and especially the players.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments at this time? Okay, Councillor McLeod Haggett.
Yeah, I attended, sorry, I attended the South Huron community production that they put on this past weekend. There is a lot of great young talent, definitely. A few of the ones that we had our Asher Moore do a couple acts, and sorry, Lennon. She's probably not watching, but kudos, girl, because that young kid can sing. She was phenomenal, and yeah, all of the numbers that were in it were fantastic. And then obviously I was proud because my daughter got to be part of it this year, and she did all of the choreography for the dance numbers. So that was it was good to see all of her hard work pay off on that.
Great, thank you. And I was at the parade for the U15A, and I was also at the concert. It was really well done. Any other comments at all right now? Not seeing any. So I did receive a text yesterday from Tom Hayter yesterday afternoon, and I told him I would bring this to council, let our members of council be aware of this. He says one of our senior church members passed out in one of the pews in the Dashwood Lutheran Church. The fire department responded very quickly and were on scene within minutes. He was quite impressed. The ambulance took a little bit of time to get there, but he's reiterated we need to continue to support our fire departments as they are quite often the first responders. And he passed that message on to Chief Becker as well. And I want to thank Chief Becker and the crew that came and attended that and made a very bad situation a better situation for those individuals. So a lot of confidence was built yesterday afternoon at the church. So thank you again, and pass on our thanks to your staff. Any other comments at all at this time? Not seeing any. Very well. Ms. Masuo Carlson.
Okay, 14.1, 14.2, 14.3,
Hold.
14.4, 14.5, 14.6, 14.7, 14.8, and 14.9.
Okay, Ms. Councillor McLeod Haggett, 14.3, please.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor Finch. I'd like to support Mr. Cormier's venture again that he did last year. He's looking to do it again this year. Not sure how if we could offer the dumpster part, but if we could definitely waive the dumping fee for them when they do the cleanup in Crediton.
Ms. Masuo Carlson, comment?
Yes, I don't believe we can do the dumpster, but we can, I think the clerk could probably provide a resolution, like similar to last year.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
And yeah, sorry, through the chair. The request was also for use of the pavilion, and there is a rental fee. So I just want clarification. Is it to waive
Oh,
that as well?
sorry. Yeah, I would look to waive that fee as well.
So that South Huron Council waive the rental fee for the use of the Crediton Pavilion, as well as landfill dumping fees for back road cleanup initiative. That's regarding roadside garbage on South Huron municipal roads for May 2nd, 2026, or May 9th as the alternative date.
So move, Councillor McLeod Haggett. Is there a seconder for that? Deputy seconds that. Any discussion? Oh, a question. Oh, you have a question? Oh, all in favor? That carries 7. Thank you. Ms. Masuo Carlson.
Let South Huron Council receive communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 7. Thank you. No closed session, no reporting from closed session. We go into our bylaws. Ms. Masuo Carlson.
Let South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 26/2026, being a bylaw to name members to the Exeter Business Association Board of Management, and set 2026 tax rates for properties in the Exeter Business Improvement Area.
And a mover for that, please. Moved by Councillor McLeod Haggett, second by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carries with 7. Thank you. 17.2.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 27/2026, being a bylaw to enter into a subdivision agreement between the municipality of South Huron and 1028094 Ontario Inc. 40T 10001 Phase 5 Crediton Village Center subdivision.
And the mover for that, Deputy Mayor moves, seconded by Counselor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carries with seven. Thank you. Next, please.
The South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 28, 2026, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 69, 2018 of the municipality of South Huron for lands described as concession 6, part lot 10, registered plan 22R 592, part 1, Stephen Ward, municipality of South Huron.
And a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Counselor Oak, Counselor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with seven. Thank you.
The South Huron Council gives first, second, third, final reading to bylaw 29, 2026, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at the April 20th, 2026 council meeting.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Vaughn, seconded by Counselor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carries with seven. Thank you.
The South Huron Council hereby adjourns at 7:08 PM to meet again on May 4th, 2026 at 6 PM or at the call of the chair.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Counselor Neeb. No discussion. Call the question, all in favor? That carries with seven. Thank you, and thank you everyone for participating tonight.